Easley is a graduate of Oklahoma State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering in 1983. He graduated from the Ken Blanchard School of Business at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona, with the Ken Blanchard Executive MBA in July of 2008. As the CEO of Powder River Energy Corporation, Mike is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the electric cooperative. Mike has been working in the electric cooperative industry since 1983. Prior to coming to PRECorp in 2000, Mike worked for cooperatives in Oklahoma, Alaska, and Michigan. Mike is also a talented singer and songwriter. Most Saturday nights, he can be found hosting the open mic at Cowgirl Pizza in Sundance, Wyoming. Okay, and playing guitar. I didn't work that in. You'll be there playing guitar and singing.
Yeah.
And hanging out.
Along with some friends that are kind of showing up on a regular basis. So it's pretty good scene.
Okay. And so when does that happen? Let's let everybody know what's going on with the open mic before.
Yeah, so we start playing at 5 and we play till 8, usually close at 8. And we there are myself and 3 other musicians that kind of come on a regular basis. But anybody that comes in, if somebody wants to try a tune, we'll give them a guitar. If they just want to like pick a song, and we'll between the 3 of us, we'll usually be able to fake it if we can't make it anyway. And so we'll let people sing. They can join with us on stuff that we're singing or bring their own stuff. And it's just kind of a fun community. It's sort of kind of between performance and practice, right? It's like performance when things are going good, and if something doesn't go quite right, then it just is practice, and everybody goes with the flow. So it's pretty fun.
Okay, and who's welcome at this? Everybody is welcome, right?
Everybody's welcome. Yeah. It's family friendly though. That's one thing. We do have like a set of stuff that we do for kids. There'll be kids come in with their families, and this past Saturday, this little girl requested Baby Shark. I'm not even gonna start the lyrics because it'll be stuck in our ears for the rest of the day. But so we did Baby Shark, and it was interesting. They put it on Facebook, at the pizza place's Facebook, and I posted it to Black Hills Events, and it's had like 1,100 views so far. So it's kind of funny. It's not us. It's just the little girl, doing the shark stuff. So it was pretty fun.
Okay, well that's good. It's good promotion for your
my Black Hills mic. Yeah, our Black Hills breakout is Baby Shark. It's awesome, right?
All right, and then I don't know. So how long have you been? I mean, how long has this open mic been going on?
Well, I kind of went there. I mean, it's been going on since like all of last year. But it's kind of weird, with COVID and everything. I was just sort of going crazy in the house, just kind of like everybody. And the pizza place in Sundance was one of those places that could stay open, although there was really very little walk-in business. It was pretty much takeout. But I set up in the way the restaurant is set up is kind of L-shaped. So I set up in one corner, and then like the ordering and all the seating is in another part of the building. And I just played there just to get out and play, because I was kind of driving myself crazy just at the house, how that goes. And so I would play, and the people that were there loved it. I mean, because it was fun. It was more of a 2 or 3 person audience, most of them working there. But as people came in waiting on their pizza, they would maybe stay and have a drink, get a Coke or something, and sit down, and while their pizza was cooking, they'd listen, and then they'd get their pizza and they'd leave. And so kind of did that through most of the tough COVID stuff. And then just over the past several months, another musician that I know decided to start coming out, and then we found another one. And then we also have a real talented female singer, Kathy, comes in, and she's got an amazing voice and comes in and kind of blesses us with some of her work too. So it's kind of a neat mix of singer songwriter, some country western, and there's a couple of us that like to get down on our originals and kind of play at least a good set of originals to kind of keep those fresh.
Yeah, so it's kind of a good good place to go if you want to just hang out and listen, even if you're not
Yeah.
ready to play.
Yeah. Come and listen,
And
come and sing, whatever. Yeah. Eat
and
pizza.
is the sign up sheet full, or what can people expect when they show up at this point?
You know,
Are we
right.
getting in on the ground floor?
It's the ground floor. Yeah.
It's still okay.
Yeah. So there's plenty of room. Yeah. Plenty of room for people to get in. We've tried to do, like right now we've been doing like 30-minute sets. So, and then the people, we've been rotating with the musicians 30-minute sets, but if anybody comes in, then they just get right in the queue. They'll be the next one up.
Yeah. Sundance has kind of a long, well, I don't know, maybe it isn't a continuous history of open mics and coffee shops, but has anybody brought up the Close Encounters coffee shop?
No.
Oh, okay. I think that was going on in the 80s.
Okay.
But it was good.
Close Encounters is a great movie. We especially, I know in Hewlett, they'll every now and then the campground down there will run the show during the summer sometimes. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So, like, how long have you been playing?
Oh gosh, I first picked up the guitar when I was like 13, I guess 12, 13. And I remember I was absolutely horrible. My parents took me to a lesson, and it didn't go so well. But my sister and I was like 12, she was 9, and we kind of fantasized that when we grew up we'd be the Carpenters, right? And so, but it was sort of like the kind of stuff you'd only do at home in front of your mom. And then that kind of, that just kind of faded with time and just whatever. And I picked it up seriously when I was in my 30s. Actually, right at 30, I was going through a pretty dark time in my life, and lived in Alaska. And a friend of mine basically knocked on my door and opened the door, and he hands me a guitar. And I go, "What's this?" And he says, "Well, this is your guitar." I said, "Well, this looks like I don't know. This is my guitar." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I just went to Anchorage and got it for you." He got in his airplane, flew. Anchorage was like 6 hours away. Got in his airplane, flew to Anchorage, got a taxi, went to the music store, bought a nice Epiphone. It was a pretty decent guitar.
I remember that guitar.
Yeah. I got the Epiphone and said, whenever you feel like over the next year, whenever you feel like drinking, play this. Do this instead. And so I played the guitar quite a bit. And a lady who was a near nun. She went to a convent, but didn't get all the way through. Basically told me that if you could play 3 chords, you could play about any song there was. And I said, "No way, that can't be." She goes, "Yeah, name a song." And so I'd name a song, and she played it with 3 chords. And I'd name another song, and she'd play it. And so I was really inspired at the time, and I made a deal with God. I said, "If you'll help me learn how to do the guitar, play the guitar, I'll do it for you." And now you kind of wonder, well, what does it have to do with Cowgirl Pizza and open mic? But I do. I play at church, and I also play at before pre-COVID. I had a pretty big gig going on at the Sundance long-term care facility, and also got over to Spearfish to Edgewood Vista once a month and played for the folks over there. And so I've been making good on my deal. And even though open mic at Cowgirl Pizza is sort of it's kind of a secular thing. I'm really proud to say that we close with what I think is a pretty amazing version of Amazing Grace. Whoever is there kind of joins in, and we have a nice, just a really nice closer for a really good event that's like built around community and friends, and just appreciating everybody and what they can bring.
Okay. Well, I was kind of wondering how. It seems like you must be a pretty busy guy. As an executive CEO of a power company. So music kind of answered my question, I guess. Like my next question of like, what keeps you playing?
Yeah, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I can't stop.
It's pretty easy to, it seems like there's seasons for the guitar.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, church is a commitment, so that gets me out every week for sure, because I'm like the only musician at this little church, and so without me, there's no music. And church without music to me is kind of it's not as good as church with music.
Right.
But so that kind of keeps me at it every week. And then, just like I mean, being a CEO of a co-op, I mean, it's a great co-op. It's a great job. I have a fantastic team, but there's stress in all the jobs that we have, whether you're the CEO or any job, we all have that stress that we deal with. And for me, the guitar is just a way to sort of, to get out of your head. And being an engineer or whatever, I spend a lot of time in my head, which is kind of a scary place. But playing music kind of does that. And, I've written a few songs over the years. And usually my songs come from, like, if there's something I want to remember, or I have a story to tell or something to get out, somehow eventually it manifests into a song, and then I'll have it. And so, get a few songs a year, but not, I'm not prolific, but a few songs, and some of them are okay to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I really enjoy your original music.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to actually, perform some of Mike's original tunes with him, different places over the years. So, if you get a chance, make sure you check out the open mic.
Yeah, and the pizza's good too. Let's not forget that.
Oh yeah, the pizza is good. I can attest to
really
that
good.
too.
Yeah,
I can testify.
Yeah, fit for foodies is what I say. So.
Okay, well, I'm kind of also part of the, the whole idea behind these little talks is finding out what's been going on with people the last year during the whole COVID thing. And I don't know a lot about power companies, but I'm going to try. I'm going to see what I can find out here. First of all, okay, the Powder River Basin is a cooperative. It's not privately owned. Can you give me a idea of what the difference is between a cooperative and a privately owned power company?
Yeah, so electric cooperatives, and they cover like 75% of the nation's land mass. So pretty big footprint, not as huge as far as customers as investor owns, but electric co-ops are owned by their customers. And we call them members, usually member owners, and we differ because, like, in the investor-owned utilities, and I'm like Black Hills Power is there's a Black Hills co-op, but Black Hills Power, like, that serves Rapid City and Spearfish area, they're investor-owned utility. They have stockholders, and so the company basically the management of the company has to balance the interest between stockholders and the customers. And in the co-op world, they're the same. And so that makes it, kind of a different business model. And we also run as a not-for-profit. So we don't make a profit, and if we do have to run as a business, so you have to make more money than you spend, or otherwise it's not sustainable. And whatever money that's left at the end of the year gets allocated back to everybody, and then in time that gets paid back to them in the form of this thing we call capital credits. So it's kind of like dividends.
Okay, and the credits go towards maybe future energy consumption, or
no, we just
whatever.
send people a check. Yeah, we'll give them a check, or depending on how much it is, sometimes we'll give them a credit on cold hard cash, or depending, like sometimes writing checks for like $5 or $10 that seems not to make sense, so we'll credit people's accounts if this for the smaller amounts, but some of the big accounts get they get checks. So
so I mean, is there? I guess I grew up on the farm I grew up on. We were part of the cooperative, and I guess I just assumed that most power companies were cooperatives until I got out here
to the real world.
Real world.
Yeah.
Is that is one more typical than the other, or?
Yeah. So investor-owned utilities, would basically cover all your big cities and towns, unless the town may have their own utility. Some towns have their own, but the co-ops are pretty much where they started in 1935 as part of the New Deal program, and so it was a huge economic development program way back when to electrify the country. And basically the farmers and the ranchers and the agricultural people basically led the charge, and they were trying to bring the quality of life to rural America that the people in the big cities were enjoying. And it was basically a way to empower the people to take care of their own needs. So, and that's just has, over the years that's grown. It covers 3/4 of the nation's landmass, but as far as the population and customers served, it's much less.
Do you have an opinion as to whether one way of running a company, a power company, is better than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the co-op model for a long, long time, and when it's kind of funny, I go on an airplane, and it's like there's always the dreaded customer or the dreaded guy, the dreaded seatmate, and you ask, "What do you do?" and "What do you do?" and so people will ask me what I do, and then I basically lay out the co-op thing, and it's really funny because people think in today's world, you'll talk even to some millennials and younger, and they'll think that, wow, that's such a great idea, that you have this not-for-profit company that is really focused on taking care of the customer and doing it, doing it in a way to keep the customer front and center. And they say, wow, that is so innovative, man. When did you think of that? And it's like, well, it's been around a while. There's enough situations, and the business world is big enough for all forms of business. But I certainly like how there's not a conflict between balancing shareholders and customer interests that you get in a co-op.
And it seems like such a basic and fundamental need,
Yeah.
especially in, with weather like we have here. If nothing else, it seems like I like it because the people that are going to freeze to death, it would be nice if they were the stockholders, that they could take responsibility one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say that, and I mean, it's there were some pretty big challenges in February across the country when that cold snap hit, and there were places that Texas had a pretty bad go of it, but even like in east of us, Rapid City would be east of Sundance, but on there's there's a separation of the electrical grid between the east and the west that runs on the western side of South Dakota. And the folks on the west side had some rolling blackouts and things like that as a result of the cold weather and the lack of generation on the system. And it's pretty, critical. Cause lots of lots of human life, and lots of financial, huge transfer of wealth during that time, with power costs and natural gas prices just kind of blowing through the ceiling.
Yeah. So what were maybe some of the challenges you came up against in 2020?
Yeah. So 2020 was for us, and I think
2020.
Yeah, 2020. For us, when COVID hit, our co-op's kind of progressive. We try to stay a little bit out ahead of things, but we dispersed our workforce, the office people, and we learned how. I mean, we probably made maybe 5 to 10 years of technology progress that we would have taken us 5 to 10 years to do. We did it in a month, as far as deploying remotely and being able to function remotely. So that was a big challenge with our people. And then customers were having difficulties, paying power bills and stuff like that. And so well ahead of like CARES Act stuff and a lot of that relief, we were, we suspended like the disconnects and the collections and things like that early on last year, and just kind of worked through that over the course of the year. But it's been a real challenge for everybody. I talk about COVID being this thing that we took everybody's priorities and personal priorities and even business priorities. Everybody took those priorities, and it's like we had a deck of cards, and people threw the deck of cards up in the air. COVID just basically threw that deck of cards up in the air, and we've all been playing this game of 52 card pickup now. And we're the way I look at it is the priorities that we had are getting stack differently now. And so we've seen that as an outcome. We've had some people that decide they don't want to commute anymore, and they've really pushed to have remote work full time, and we're trying to accommodate that. We've had some people that realized how far they were away from home, and decided it was time for them to move back home. And so we've lost some people to people wanted to go closer to home and closer to family. And so it's just been a real interesting thing to watch society kind of restack their deck on this game of 52 card pickup that COVID kind of threw at us this last year.
Have you seen any positive outcomes?
Yeah,
from 2020.
Yeah, I think from us, the communication was like a key, and we learned how to do Zoom calls or Teams or whatever your medium of choice might be. But we learned how to communicate better in different ways, and I think that really helped us. I did weekly messages to my team every week. I sat down and just kind of told them what was going on, and I got really good at doing editing. So I was like doing all my stuff on Zoom, and then learned how to do a little bit of video editing, which is kind of a nice little skill to pick up. Something I wouldn't have done otherwise. But it taught us how to communicate differently. I think that's a good thing. And maybe in the future, we're going to appreciate the times that we're together more when we can get face to face with people. But at the same time, travel may be less. We may have more access to conferences and trainings and things like that are going to be now. People have learned how to deliver these products, via virtual conferences, and that could hurt. May hurt some industry, but at the same time, maybe we can get more people to get more training and sort of elevate the skill level of everybody, maybe more efficiently than we would have otherwise, just because of that availability. And then anytime that people can, realign with their values and really know what their values are and be crystal on that, I think that's a really good thing for people to know. And it takes a while for those benefits to kind of work their way through our culture and society. But I think if people really know what's really important to them, I think that's a shared experience that I think everybody can relate to each other with.
Yeah, and if you're spending more time locally, the local pizza place will definitely benefit.
Yeah, and like Sundance's grocery store is one. I know it really saw a lot of local. People were shopping more local than before, and that I think
same thing happened in Sturgis.
Yeah, in the grocery business, when you have a higher turnover in your store, I think you get better product and better produce and all those kind of things. And so that's really the Sundance grocery store has just been phenomenal throughout it. And I'm sure that has gone all the way across all small towns across Wyoming and South Dakota, and we realize how important it is to shop local.
Yeah, Lynn's was always a good store, but it's improved even more in the last year. Okay, well, I know that Wyoming is really rich in natural resources, lots of coal, specifically, I don't know, and some oil. But I know that, you've been interested in renewable energy resources, wind and maybe solar. Why would you be interested in that when you have all these fossil fuels at your fingertip?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of it is we know that. If you take a look at solar power and wind as well, the prices of that just continue to decline, and that's because economies of scale have helped. There's tax credits as well that have done that, but the curve that the price point on those technologies is getting cheaper and cheaper. So at some point, if members of a co-op can do something on their own and do it cheaper, we certainly want to make sure that those people that want to do that can. And so we've been supporting a lot of our members. We have a growing number of what we call net metering, which is small, small 25 kW, so like house size, maybe, uh, generation that's going on. People are doing that, and we've supported that. But on the bigger picture, we're seeing like oil companies that are having to comply with some, basically, it's sort of a sustainability type of a standard that their investors are requiring. And so
Mm,
even a lot of the oil companies are coming up with a need for renewables in kind of in the mix, and they need to know how much of their power supply comes from renewables. And so, knowing that that was coming down the pike, our power supplier, which is also a co-op, has been investing heavily in renewables and gas generation, wind gas and solar, just because number one, it's the cheapest that you can actually develop right now.
mm.
So economics plays into it, but also I think just we're seeing a lot of our larger businesses and big corporations really looking at that very closely as part of their sustainability requirements.
So do you think it's possible then to make a shift to renewable energy resources from fossil fuels and not
Yeah,
completely disrupt the economy and
yeah,
our way of
yeah.
life?
I guess I'm not in the camp that it's an either or situation.
Yeah,
Anytime that you find yourself in either or, you know, I don't think things work out very well. And if you take a look at a couple things come to mind. First of all, price and availability. And renewables are intermittent. When the sun doesn't shine or the
hmm,
wind doesn't blow, then you still need power. And we've talked about battery storage and all these other sorts of things. But in our climate, and when you can have like blizzards that can come through and create lots of havoc for days, not just for hours. And you could be pinned
right,
down for days. And in those sorts of cases, having kind of a local fuel source, having firm capacity on a natural gas pipeline, those kind of resources really come into play to make your grid more resilient and robust. And so I think our future will be a real good mix of wind and solar renewables. Hopefully, Wyoming's been really big in pursuing carbon capture out of
mm,
coal plants. X Prize has been running a competition at a power plant in Gillette called the Dry Fork Station about capturing utilizing CO2. I think Elon Musk just announced like $100 million prize for continuing to incentivize people to look at carbon capture and utilization. So I think the future grid's going to have lots of renewables in it. It's probably going to hopefully there'll be some baseload power, which will probably be a combination of nuclear, coal with carbon capture, and natural gas. And I don't see that it just goes totally away without people changing. That they may want to and maybe we get to a point where having blackouts is okay, and
mm.
everybody's ready to have a week to 10 days of their own power supply, and that could be a future that works for people. Uh, don't know that that's the most cost effective future, but it could be one that happens.
One thing I've been kind of wondering about as far as like Texas and the problems they had this last cold snap, it sounds like rather than resorting to rolling blackouts and having, intermittent power outages, they just shut down big chunks of the grid. Do you have any like inside baseball sort of ideas on why they chose that route?
Yeah, I can. I think I could talk more specifically about what happened, like in the system that we're associated with, which is sort of reflective. I think what happened in Texas,
Yeah.
but we're not
Sorry.
really.
When you
Yeah,
mentioned accepting blackouts, I was just kind of wondering. I don't
yeah.
know, that came to mind, but
Well, I mean, it could happen, and but what happened is I mean, all the if your power grid if the demand is too much on the power grid, you pull too much from it, there's not enough generation to power it, then it'll just like collapse, just collapses, and then starting that and re-energizing it from like, from a black start is what you call it.
Hmm.
That's a huge deal. And I mean, that would be a huge mess. And so what happens is they trip load off to make sure that you can keep all the generators and the transmission lines interconnected, and then you can start to bring stuff back on. So nobody wants to take it down to like, a black start. What happened is there wasn't really a really good plan on how to surgically disconnect certain loads. The technology isn't that spread out and deployed that it would allow you to turn off maybe this part of your system, but not turn off that part of the system. And the things were so dire
Hmm.
in the Southwest Power Pool market, SPP market, which is, I'm on the Eastern Interconnect, and I'm sure in Texas that they were basically unloading substations just to try to save the system keep it from going dark. And the lessons learned will be that I think you'll see a much more surgical approach to that in the future. And they'll also probably create some market products where customers can sign up intentionally if they want to be disconnected willingly, first in line to be disconnected for a payment. We'll probably see some actual products that come into the market where you can, sign up for maybe your level of reliability. And then by virtue of that, you may have a price differential. But that's good. Technology's there for us to do it right now. It's just not really been deployed and proven and scaled yet. But I think that'll be something that we see in the next decade, quite a bit of that.
Okay. So, what is it like? The capacitors, are they empty? And then they have to like take a load on?
Well,
I'm only
so
doing this because I'll probably cut this out.
okay, okay, yeah. So what?
It's kind of
So it's
interesting to me.
it's kind of like if you're running your car. I don't know if you've ever. I rented a motorhome several years ago, and
Yeah.
I had it on cruise control, and I was trying to go up a big hill. And so for a while, the cruise control kind of helped. It was just kind of going. And then as I kept getting higher and higher and higher up the hill, that cruise control couldn't kick in anymore, and the cruise control just kind of fell off. Okay, so your electric system is kind of like that. As the load comes on, all the generators that are on the system start to add more fuel to generate more power. But
Hmm.
if there's too much load and not enough power, pretty soon those generators just stop. They trip offline because the frequency drops below their design frequency, and that's whenever electrical damage starts to happen on all kinds of equipment. So the generators just trip off, and when the generators go black and the system goes black, it's much harder. Kind of imagine an irrigation system that basically, if you drain all the water out of an irrigation system, it's a whole lot harder to start that irrigation system
Right.
than if it's already full of water and you can just start pumping again, right? And so the electrical system is kind of the same way. Getting all those generators connected back to each other and the transmission lines energized is a really difficult job to do.
Or a Fender tube amp that's been in
Yeah,
storage for 20 years.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, and
It's
just
just it's
won't
done.
pack it. Yeah, it won't pack the
Right.
load. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, anything else you'd like the hopefully viewers of this
Yeah.
YouTube video to know, or
Yeah, I guess I would not really, but I would just say I've watched several of your guests on here, Paul. And I think there's great stories being told on your channel, and lots of insights into different parts of the artists and different things happening in the Black Hills that I didn't know about it. So I think it's a great project, and just wish you the best of luck with it.
oh, well, thank you, Mike. And
Yeah,
good luck with the open mic.
yeah, I'd love to have anybody come out. It'd be fun.
Yeah. And hopefully Mike and I do some gigging together as well when I'm more, into leaving the house.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
yeah,
hopefully this summer maybe we'll be in Spearfish or Rapid somewhere playing a gig.
yeah. Yeah, we took a big upgrade on our sound system this past week, Paul, and I can tell you, it's like I'm almost, it's like it is so much.
Overkill?
Oh no, it
No,
sounds so good. It is just
I
like
bet it does.
it's like I don't know if I want to ever get my other stuff out again.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad you're happy with it.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Okay. Well, hey, I'll talk to you later.
Yep. See you, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
Yep. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.